Hey guys, in this video we're going to take a look at distance and midpoint between two ordered pairs. And so I'm going to start out by giving you some formulas here. So distance, we'll start with that one first. If you have an ordered pair x1, y1 and x2, y2, then the distance formula is d is equal to the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. And then it's all with this square root. And so the formula is really nothing more than the Pythagorean theorem on the coordinate plane. So if you take a line segment or a triangle and you translate it up, down, left, or right, you get the same one, congruent to the first one, and it's going to have the same distances, but they're going to just be in a different place. So this subtraction part shows the left-right movement and the y's show the up-down movement. However, if you have the 2 points, you can clearly find the distance no problem because this formula is pretty easy to find. It's pretty easy to use, Now the midpoint formula is an ordered pair for the midpoint, and that is the average of the x's, so x1 plus x2 divided by 2, comma, the average of the y's, y1 plus y2 over 2. So if you average the x's and the y's, then you will get the midpoint of the line segment. So these two formulas are the ones I'm going to use. I'm usually not going to write the formulas down first a whole lot. I'm just going to go ahead and start plugging numbers in. So if you need to write this down somewhere and keep it handy, that might be a good thing for you to do as you go through these problems, because they're going to go pretty quick. So here's our first problem here. And this one says find the distance and midpoint between the 2 points that are given. And really, if you want to use the formulas, you have an x1, a y1, an x2, and a y2. So to find the distance first, it's going to be the square root of, and basically you just take the x's, 6 minus negative 2, square it, plus negative 3 minus negative 3 squared. And then this tends to get kind of lengthy for the square root, so I'm just going to use a ruler to draw that all the way across so it doesn't look bad. And whatever that turns out to be is the distance between the 2 points. So let's simplify. 6 take away negative 2 is really going to be the same thing as 6 plus 2 squared, plus negative 3 take away negative 3 is really negative 3 plus 3 squared. And I'll still use my ruler here, make it look decent for my video. So now we have 6 plus 2 is 8. Okay, negative 3 and 3 make 0. I'm bad at making straight lines like that. You see how crooked that is? So now we have 8 squared plus 0 squared, so 64 plus 0, just nothing happens. And so then the square root of 64 is going to be 8. So it's a distance of 8 units between those 2 points. If you graph them on the coordinate plane, you'll be able to see clearly that there is a distance of 8 units between the 2 points. Now, if we want to find our midpoint, we'll do that on the right-hand side. The midpoint is going to be negative 2 plus 6 over 2, comma, negative 3 plus negative 3 over 2. And then we simplify that. So negative 2 plus 6 is 4 over 2. Negative 3 and another negative 3 is negative 6 over 2. And that's going to simplify down to a midpoint of 2, comma, negative 3. So a distance of 8, midpoint 2, negative 3. And that one is done. Okay, next example, we're going to do the same thing, but we'll probably start doing these a little bit quicker to kind of keep things moving here. So this one, I'm not going to label my points this time. I'm going to just start plugging some numbers in. So x, x1, y1, x2, y2. Okay, so here we go. Distance is square root of 1, take away 1 squared plus 4, take away -2 squared. All of that is square root. Okay, so this time we have 0 squared plus 4 take away -2 is really going to be 4 plus 2 squared equals 0 squared goes away. 4 plus 2 is 6. 6 squared is 36. And the square root of 36 is going to be 6. Now let's do the midpoint. So our midpoint is going to be 1 plus 1 over 2 and -2 plus 4 over 2. It's always divided by 2 because it's the average. That's going to give us 2 over 2 and another 2 over 2. And that's finally going to give us for our midpoint 1, 1. All right, next example. Okay, this time for our distance, let's do 5 take away 2 squared plus 6 minus 2 squared. And that's all square root. All right, so now we have 3 squared plus 6 minus 2 is 4 squared. And now we have 9 plus 16, which is 25. And the square root of 25 is equal to 5. So that is our distance between the 2 points. Our midpoint, 2 plus 5 over 2, 2 plus 6 over 2. That's going to give us 7 over 2, comma, 6 plus 2 is 8 over 2. Now the 7 over 2, you can just leave that as a fraction. That's fine. We usually do that. We usually don't turn them into decimals. Unless somebody asks you to. Then 8 divided by 2 is 4. So 7 halves, comma 4 is our midpoint for that one. All right. Next example. All right, distance. Let me change my marker up here, make things a little bit different. So let's do our distance. So 8 minus -4 squared plus 2 minus 7 squared. And it didn't look the greatest, but it'll be okay. 8 minus -4 is really 8 plus 4, which is 12. 2 minus 7 is -5. 12 squared is 144. -5 squared is 25. And both those should be positive every time, or 0 if it's 0. All right, 144 plus 25, and here is where if you have a calculator, you can use one. 144 plus 25 is 169. And square root of 169 is 13. Sounds good. Some of you may have already known that. All right, so midpoint, -4 plus 8 over 2, comma, 7 plus 2 over 2. -4 plus 8 is 4 over 2. 7 plus 2 is 9 over 2. The 4 over 2 we can simplify to 2, and the 9 over 2 we're just going to leave that as 9 over 2. And so we have 2 comma 9 halves, and that is correct for that one. Okay, next one. Let's see, let's use this color here. All right, so our distance this time is going to be 6 minus 3 squared plus 0 minus negative 3 squared, square root. So now we have 6 minus 3 is 3 squared plus 0 take away negative 3 is 3 squared. Okay, so now we have the square root of 3 squared is 9 plus another 9. Square root of 18. And the square root of 18 now, we're going to have to break that down, aren't we? So if we take a factor tree here, sometimes you have to do that. 18 is going to be 9 times 2. 2 is prime. 9 is 3 times 3. And so it looks like we're going to get 3 and then root 2. So it looks like 3 root 2 is going to be our distance for this one. Let's find our midpoint. So our midpoint, 3 plus 6 over 2, comma, negative 3 plus 0 over 2. 6 plus 3 is 9 over 2. Negative 3 plus 0 is negative 3 over 2, and just leave them like that because they're fractions and you really can't do anything more with that. You don't have to turn them into decimals or anything, just leave it. All right. Then we have in this one, let's go ahead and let's do our distance first, and we'll use purple this time. So this time our distance is going to be square root of 2 minus negative 13 plus negative 4 minus 4 squared. I know these look really challenging, but they usually just turn out to be something that's pretty easy. 2 take away negative 13 is really 2 plus 13, right? And so 2 plus 13 would be 15. Plus negative 4 and another negative 4 actually make negative 8. And I'm going to keep the parentheses there because it's negative. The 15 wasn't. All right, so 15 squared is 225. Negative 8 squared is a positive 64. So if you add those together, 225 plus 64, you get 289. And I know what that is, but if you take the square root, you get 17. And so 17 is going to be your distance. So that's pretty nice. All right, let's take a look at our midpoint. So our midpoint, negative 13 plus 2 over 2. And 4 plus negative 4 over 2. So our midpoint's going to be at negative 13 plus 2 is really negative 11 over 2. Can't really do anything with that. 4 and negative 4 make 0 over 2. And the only thing with this right here, you're going to leave the negative 11 over 2 alone. But 0 over 2 is just 0. So you can just change that to a 0. And then you just leave your midpoint as negative 11 over 2, comma 0. All right, we got some more examples on the handout for you guys. You can work those out. The answers should be on there. And if you have any issues, you can always let me know. Send me a message. Remember to like my video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and we will see you guys later. Bye.